back in the Hall of Justice, mutated by cosmic waves.
All right. Talking Comic Books back again here at the Dark Horse booth with Joshua Williamson. Joshua, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm glad I was able to come by.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, I believe our first interaction, we have an interaction on Twitter.
Yeah,
before.
on Twitter. Yeah.
And I believe you wrote an issue of Batman Superman.
Oh, yeah.
That I love so much. The Damian issue with
Damian
Supergirl.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things I've ever written. I
I just want to tell you in person, love that issue, man.
Thanks, dude. That's a classic for me. At least. I love that issue.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing with that was where I really learned how much I like writing characters that are kind of little jerks.
Yeah.
And that's where Ghosted, I read that book called Ghosted for Image, and that's where that came into play. Like, the guy Jackson is such a little bastard, you know?
Yeah.
That was where I learned, I really like writing these kinds of characters.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that issue. It helps me out a lot.
Yeah, I missed that little jerk in the DC universe.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'd heard he was going to die a bit before he died, and I was really, spoilers.
Yeah.
And I was really bummed out about it, and I wanted to try to write him again before that, and I never got a chance to, so I totally missed that guy.
Yeah. So, enough. Let's talk about your DC stuff. Let's talk about your Dark Horse stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, why don't you let people who are listening or maybe don't know, what are you doing for Dark Horse right now?
Right now, I am writing Captain Midnight, which is about an old pulp superhero from the 40s who has been pulled into present day and is sort of trying to complete his last mission. And he's sort of, the thing about him is that he's unlike a lot of other, I'll just say Captain America or other Man at a Time sort of stories, is that when he was pulled into present day, he was disappointed. If you look at sort of what they thought the future was going to be like in the 40s, he had he as a futurist and an inventor, and he was a genius, had this view of the future. And so when he arrives, he looks around, he's like, what happened? We were planning all this stuff, where did it all go? And so he's really disappointed by that and trying to fix it. And so one of the slogans we've been using is they stole his Better Tomorrow and he's trying to get it back. I think that's it. It's better worded.
Yeah.
But they just announced this week during the convention, I'm writing Predator.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're doing this big relaunch of Prometheus, Aliens, AVP, and Predator. And they're all going to be sort of tied together in this big world, this big master story we're planning. And I'm doing the Predator part of it, which is really exciting. At first, I wasn't sure which book I was going to be writing, but as the meetings went on, what we were doing is we're doing basically a writer's room with all the writers and some of the artists and the editors all in one room, hashing out and trying to break the story together. And at first, I wasn't sure if I was going to write Predator, but we all kept putting all these awesome ideas into Predator. And I was thinking, God, I really want to write that one. And so towards the end of the first meeting, I looked around so we should probably figure out who's going to write what. And Scott Lee's like, well, I think you're going to write Predator. You seem to have a good handle on it. And on the outside, I was like, oh, all right, cool, good. On the inside, I was like, yeah.
So
yeah.
Have they talked about anything about what the storylines are going to be yet or anything like that?
Only a little bit. We're not supposed to say too much about it.
Right.
I think I can tell you a little bit mine. Mine is sort of it's about an older Predator, more of a grizzled, war-torn Predator who's been around for a while. Who's sort of kind of you can tell he's getting older toward the end of his life. And there's just one last thing he wants to hunt, that one great hunt. And so I'm telling sort of a Moby Dick sort of story with this character. And so, yeah, he's trying to get that one last thing. I can't tell you what the one last thing he's trying to hunt is.
Yeah.
That's part of the story, but you'll find out in issue 1, and I'm really excited about it.
So it's a Predator perspective of a story?
No.
Okay.
There is a human character that's in it. I mean, again, I really like writing jerk sort of characters and sort of not even anti-hero, that's not even the wrong word, but these guys who really are, their motivation is themselves, looking out for themselves. And so there is a human character that's in it, his name is Galgo. And Galgo will actually be introduced in some of the other books first. But you can still read my story by itself. But Galgo, it's kind of through his eyes, or his perspective, and his sort of interactions with this Predator. You'll have to see it. But it is sort of a dual narrative with the two of them. It's been really interesting and difficult to pull off because Predators don't talk. And I don't really care for the whole parroting thing where he sort of, will mimic what someone says.
Right.
You can only go so far with that. So it's been a challenge, but also awesome.
Yeah, so now does this stuff take the movies into account, or is this a relaunch of a universe here?
It is a little bit of a reboot, a little bit of a relaunch, but I definitely am taking all the Predator stuff into account. I'm a continuity junkie. I've said this before, I'm one of those guys, and I will try and find those little things to put in for fans. It would be sacrilege to me to ignore what came before. However, if you watch the 3 Predator movies, so and I'm with Predator, Predator 2, and Predators, they stand alone.
Yeah.
You know, there are some stuff you could say that connect, but for the most part, they stand alone, and that's sort of the same attitude I'm having, where my story is going to stand alone. But if you're a fan of those, you'll see that I'm honoring it, that I'm definitely trying to keep it going.
Right.
You know, the same themes, same ideas. I'm a big Predator fan, so I'm hoping that people can see that in the writing.
Right. Is there a big difference between, let's say, writing characters like Supergirl, Damian, that are, you know, they're pre-existing characters, but the Predator universe is also pre-existing.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between dealing with that kind of licensed property and dealing with like those DC characters?
I've done a lot of licensed books. I did Uncharted, done some digital stuff. It all depends. I mean, mostly with DC, you're dealing with editors. And also with those things, I feel like with Damian and Supergirl, I know their voices really well. But even with licensing stuff with Uncharted, I mean, those voices are really distinct.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know, and so with those, when I was working on Uncharted, I would play the video game and just listen to the sound ticks. And, you know, but that's the thing that's kind of funny with comics. You feel like you know those characters, but you never actually hear them.
Yeah.
Unless, like with Batman, we have so many different interpretations of
Yeah.
Batman. But with Predator, it is kind of different because he doesn't have a voice. It's more of a theme. It's more of a like honoring sort of that classic movie and that idea of that. But it's different because with regular, I'm gonna say regular comics, you're dealing just with the editors. Whereas with that stuff, you're dealing with the editor and the licenser, and the licensors have different motivations than the editors do, and so it's a balancing act. And it can be interesting, it can be fun, it can be challenging, but I don't mind it so much. But I think Predator will probably be my last licensing for a while. Mostly because I'm focusing, like again, Captain Midnight. Like we have this big story plan for Captain Midnight that we've been working on that we're really excited about. There are some people stick with it. And it's one of those things where we're really planning stuff in the beginning for a long-term plan. And same thing with Ghosted. Like I'm doing Ghosted with Image, and I'm really excited about that. I love writing it, and I'm gonna keep doing more books like that. I really think like Predator will probably be my last license thing for a while, so I'm trying to put as much effort into it as I can.
Right.
Go out on a high note.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. So with Captain Midnight, actually, I was at the retailers' breakfast this year.
Oh, nice.
And they showed a big image. They were really Dark Horse was really pushing their superhero stuff.
Yeah.
A big image that had Captain Midnight on it and all their other superheroes they've been introducing. How has it been kind of like, because they're not known for their superheroes, Dark Horse, not really.
Yeah.
So what it's been like to kind of be on the front lines of this new kind of superhero movement with them?
I guess I don't think about it that much.
Okay.
I mostly think about Captain Midnight, and I talk with them because I live in Portland, so I go down to Dark Horse frequently and meet with them and talk. But mostly, they gave me the Bible, so I have the Bible about what I need to sort of focus on, what they're trying, the big picture, the big plan. And so for me, I've been able to sort of focus mostly on the Captain Midnight plan, but still knowing what is on the periphery of the story and trying to find ways of seeding it in is fun.
Yeah.
But for me, I guess I don't get intimidated by it at all.
Yeah.
Like, I really just want Captain Midnight to work on its own.
Yeah.
And me and Jim Gibbons, who are the editor, we talk a lot about, like, the story. I mean, there are times I will call him to ask him a simple question, thinking it's going to last, like, maybe a minute or two, and then we're on the phone for, like, 2 hours. Because we'll start talking about the future of the book and these big plans we have, and we're trying to create a kind of, this will sound really silly, maybe. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
No.
You are aware there's a show called Breaking Bad?
Yes, I'm aware of this thing that exists called Breaking Bad.
So with Breaking Bad, there's a lot of things that pay off, and a lot of double backing. Sort of, you realize they were building a story for a while.
Right.
There's a lot of like Chekhov's gun. There's a lot of that going on. We have a lot of that in Captain Midnight. We're hoping that people will pay attention and kind of stick with us and be patient and see how when you get to issue 8, you're going to be like, oh, crap, that was in issue 1.
Yeah.
You get to issue 9, you're going to be like, oh, crap, that was issue 3. Like, you're going to see this build, this back and forth. And so we're really excited about that. I'm hoping people will stick with it and see this huge story we're telling.
All right. We don't take too much more of your time,
No, so cool.
but I do want to not get out of here without talking about Ghosted a little bit.
Yeah, please. I love Ghosted.
Yeah,
that was really important
and we've been
to me.
loving it so far, especially at the site. We've
Thank
been talking
you.
about it a lot of weeks on the podcast.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, thank you.
First of all, tell people what Ghosted is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ghosted is it's Ocean's 11 in a haunted house instead of a casino. It's about a guy named Jackson Winters who is broken out of prison by this rich old collector and is told that he has to steal a ghost from a haunted house. And he puts together a team of the best paranormal experts in the world to help him steal the ghost. And it's very much a dark humor crime story. It can be violent in places, but I think people. Lately, I've noticed people more and more talking about there's humor there too.
Yeah.
It's very much a black humor, and it stars a guy, Jackson Winters, who's just a bastard. This kind of a bad guy who little smart, smart ass, the smart mouth who speaks his mind, doesn't hesitate. So, but I do it with Goran Suzuka, who did Why the Last Man. Yeah, Why the Last Man. He did Outlaw Nation. He's done a lot of different books for Vertigo, and I'm really happy we've got him in. And then we haven't announced it yet. We've shown Phillips covers. On Saturday, we're going to announce we're having a guest artist come in for a couple issues to give Goran a little bit of break so we can catch up and we get back on things. But we're really, really excited about it. The stuff that we have coming up is crazy. Issue 5 is going to be nuts. 8 is crazy. Again, I want people to stick with it. It's rough because 8 doesn't come out until I think March. And so there's that part of me that's like, oh man, I cannot wait for March. 8 is crazy. Because it's a supernatural horror, but with crime. That's really what I'm going for. It's like horror noir book. It's a fresh mixing of two tropes, two genres. That's really cool to see it coming together. I'm trying. It's rough. The balancing of that book is really hard, but I've learned a lesson recently. It's really all about Jackson because he is such a focal point of the book. If I can't write him, if he's not coming to me, then it's gonna take forever. But there are days where I'll hear his voice, and it's just like it's those one-liners. Once I start hearing his one-liners, it flows. It ends up working out really well.
I think being a writer is the profession where you can say, I hear voices in my head, and people are cool with it. Whatever, that's what it's supposed to be.
I mean, that's with Ghost of Number 8, that was really what it was the opening scene. I went for a walk, and I could hear the conversation between the two characters. It was a bad guy and Jackson talking. And Jackson isn't at his best when he has someone to bounce off of, someone that they don't get along. Like in the first issue with Anderson, the two of them, they don't get along. And so, with that, I was hearing both of them just going back and forth. I got home, and I wrote it up. It was awesome.
Awesome. Well, you sound like a busy man right now.
I am, I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
I don't sleep
Midnight,
much.
Predator, Ghosted.
I know, and I have so many more books next year. Like, I'm overbooked right now. Like I was telling you when we first started talking, it's like I have so much stuff I'm working on right now that I don't really need any more work. And so it's weird to go to a convention and you're not asking for work. You're just like, just leave me alone. I just want to go home and work. That's all I want to do. But things are going really good, man. And I'm hoping people read Ghosted and Captain Midnight, and next year is going to be crazy. I have another crime horror book for next year that I'm hoping people who read Ghosted, who also read Masks and Mobsters, the book I do, read those. We'll go over to the other ones. It'll be fun.
All right, awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing it come in 2014. Joshua Williamson.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much for joining us on Talking Comics.
Yeah, thank you.